couldn't make it this week. So, and unfortunately as well, I accidentally studied for group 9s instead of group 8s. So I can give my irrelevant example if you'd like, and then you can give yours, and we can just go from there. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, Also, I submitted it, but I didn't. Like usually, before I submit it, I'll copy and paste it so I can reread it to you guys. I just submitted it this time. Um, but Group 9 says, give an example that shows the difference between a profit and a nonprofit organization. And basically, like nonprofit organizations, they can still gain revenue, they still have income. It just doesn't go to any ownership, doesn't go to any individual. It goes back into the organization. Its sole purpose isn't to gain revenue; it's another purpose. And the example I used is my wife. She actually wants to start a nonprofit organization. It's called He Is Present, and basically what it is, it's you know how like the church has the Mormon.org videos, like I'm a Mormon, and they have these cool stories and cool videos. Well, hers would be like He Is Present would be videos like that about how God has influenced their lives, but it wouldn't be specifically like LDS orientated. It would be uh, non-denominational. So she wants to like go around and film people of all Christian faiths of how Christ has impacted their lives, and so revenue we wouldn't get from that would go right back into the business. But it's not like we wouldn't make any money from that. And again, I don't have the details specifically of this company. It's just an idea that we're working with right now. But that's what I put for my example, but it doesn't relate to what we're doing, so we can move on from that.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's a really good example.
Thanks.
Um, so for mine, um, I just started with the definition of what a corporation is. Uh, and so corporations are artificial beings that are created by operation of law with an existence distinct from the individuals who own and operate it. Um, and an example could be you have a promoter or someone who knows the nature of the business. Um, so I'll just give the example of my stepmom. She knew the nature of social work and social services for mentally handicapped people.
Okay.
So she started out um, just working for a company, and eventually she wanted to break off into her own so that she could start up group homes across
Yeah,
the.
that's cool.
Um, yeah, it was actually pretty cool. So she, um, I think it's a corporation, and it's public corporation because it wasn't for profit
Mm-hmm.
uh, necessarily. It was more for funded by the state. And so she was the one who promoted it and was able to bring in employees, other people who were social workers, um, and eventually it kept growing and growing, and they had like 9 group homes. Um,
Oh,
but the job she had with it was not only just to know the business, but to make sure that everybody else was aware of the purpose of it and
mm-hmm.
to inform people that would be investors in it of what their goals are. Um,
That's
so
cool.
that's a promoter, I guess. So
Nice. That's awesome. That's a cool example. Like how they're both like real life examples. That's kind of neat.
yeah.
Um, Sweet. Well, our question says give an example that shows how a corporation is created. We can do for a quiz question, we can do an example where like someone is creating a business and we can um, I don't know. Can you read what you read earlier about like that section of that book you were reading?
Yep, I can. Um, so the first step to the formation of the corporation is the promoter, and that person conceives of, organizes, and begins the corporation. It says that not only is the corporation his or her brainchild, but also the promoter finds others who are willing to participate in the development and exploitation of the idea. In their job, let's see. Although the promoter is not an agent of the corporation to be created, they occupy a fiduciary relationship or position of trust in regard to the proposed corporation and its investors and shareholders and its creditors. Basically, this trust relation requires that the promoter makes full disclosure of their anticipated personal gain, the nature of the business, its prospects, and the promoter's plan with regard thereto. All right. In the course of forming the corporation, the promoter may incur costs, make contracts, and do other acts in furtherance of the corporation. Since the promoter is not an agent, the corporation is not automatically responsible or liable for these obligations and contracts. However, it may ratify, adopt, or accept them, provided that there is full and open disclosure by the promoter to the corporation. The promoter remains obligated with respect to such obligations or contracts unless released by the obligee or unless the corporation is substituted for him by innovation. All right. And it goes on a little further. Talks about next part of it is obtaining the charter. The persons wishing to form a corporation or the incorporators apply to the state corporation commission with the form of the charter they want to have granted. Um, Although the charter is usually prepared by an attorney, this is not necessary. A detailed discussion of the nature and content of the charter follows later in this chapter. Okay. The certificate of incorporation is the state's official authorization for the corporation to start doing business. Okay, so after the receipt of the certificate of the incorporation from the state's official, their official authorization of it,
Mm-hmm.
corporators can call a meeting of the interim board of directors named in the charter to be held, at which time bylaws are adopted, officers are elected, and other necessary business is transacted. Once stock is issued and sold, the shareholders duly meet and name the regular board of directors. Um, and it goes on a little bit further. Do you want me to finish it or?
Um, well, maybe I was just thinking that it seems like what we're talking about is a process. And
Mhm.
if we were to ask a question, we could ask which of the following is the correct order of how to start a corporation, and we can do like
Yeah.
we can throw in like maybe we organize like we sell stock first and then we do the charge to the state thing, and that way the people can understand like the organization of it, like the order in which you create the corporation. And so maybe we can like mix them up a little bit, like have like 4 or 5 options. Like step one is someone comes up with the idea, that's the obvious one, and then you have you know group with someone else for exploitation of the company, and then you could say like the charter for the state first, and then, or like you could say that we organize the business first, like we sell stocks, we decide who's who in the business, and then you could do the charge to the state to approve it. That way we could try to, I guess, trick people that way. I don't know. But what do you think? Do you think that'd be doable? Is there pretty specific steps that we could do for like a legitimate question?
Yeah, that's I think it's a really good idea. Yeah, you're right. So definitely the promoter is an obvious number one that we could do. Um,
So we have, let's just list like the main steps right now.
sure.
So we have the promoter. We have, so I mean, it says there that he groups with people. I'm just thinking of the corporation that I work at. It's growing right now. There's like 100 employees, and
Okay.
so like Aaron had this idea. He hired Eric, who worked at Melaleuca, huge pay cut to come to the company that he's working at now because he had like this vision with the CEO, and like things are going really well. And so it's would that be a step we would want to include in there, or would that one be a little too obvious? Should we just exclude that one?
You mean like bringing people on board to?
Yeah,
Um, I don't know because like we could because it's kind of important. Like that's what happens. That's
yeah.
that's how it works.
Okay, we can definitely include that one. So acquire. Does it say anything specific there, or does it say like bring people on board?
Um, okay. Okay. Well, yeah. So the promoter is the one that brings people on board and the investors and the shareholders and the creditors. It doesn't say anything specific other than the promoter is not an agent. The corporation is not automatically responsible or liable for these obligations and contracts. Promoter remains obligated with respect to such obligations or contracts unless released by the obligee. But the next part, it just says the persons wishing to form a corporation or the incorporators, they apply to the state corporation commission with the form of the charter they have.
So in incorporators apply to
The
state. What was that?
state corporation commission.
Okay. Okay. And what's after that? Is that where they decide positioning and stuff like that?
Yeah, almost. It says the next thing that happens is the certificate of incorporation. Um, they need to get that from the state corporation commission, so they have to be approved, I guess.
Okay. That one might be a little obvious there, but okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, the incorporators, after receipt of the certificate of incorporation, call a meeting of the interim board of directors, naming the charter to be held, at which time bylaws are adopted, officers are elected, and other necessary business is um, yeah, so once they get the certificate of incorporation, they call a meeting, board of directors that were named in the charter. That's where they decide who's going to be the officers and everything else, like you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else after that?
There's a section here that I don't know if I understand it completely, but it's the jure corporation is one that has been formed in accordance with all the requirements of the law, and a de facto corporation is one that has not been properly formed, even though the incorporators made a good faith effort to do so. Um, It just says the defect in the formation of the de facto corporation is technical. There is some omission, for example, in the charter, but the certificate of incorporation is nonetheless granted. The status of the de facto corporation can be challenged only by the state. Third parties must accept it as valid, authentic corporate entity.
What we could do is give an example of a company, of a corporation. Like so and so started this company, these are the steps he took. We can either keep a step or leave one out, and then say, would this be considered like de jure, like you just said? I don't know how to pronounce it, or the other one, and we can have like two for de jure and then two for the other one, and say like have one right answer, whatever it is, if he made the right steps or not, or and like two for the wrong one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
So if you want, I can just pull up the thing right now and put it on the thing so you can see.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna move this so it's not all wacky. Can you see that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Just the group assignment template.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we can use like obviously a different name, but we can use like your stepmom story if you want.
Sure.
We can use Susan. That's my stepmom's name.
Oh, cool.
So Susan. How should we start it off? Susan
Um,
has studied social work for years and decided to start a, what is it again?
um, well, I guess it would be considered a public corporation because it's formed as it's called so it was in a town. It's called Raystown, and it was called Raystown Developmental Services.
Mm-hmm.
So it was through the state. It was state funded.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Maybe we should do just like a normal example.
okay.
Because I don't know, like if public corporation, like if
If it,
there's anything we would miss,
yeah.
or okay. Um,
Hmm.
so we can just do a normal one. Like, can say Joseph started a corporation where he sold um, we can just say like uh, quality kitchenware. I don't know. Or what do you
Yeah.
think?
I yeah. I think that's good. I'm trying to think of something else, but it's not bad.
Okay. His company, you can say like expert kitchen. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Kitchen, or we can say to create his company. These are the steps he did, and then we could just ask like, uh, was this de jour or was it? What's the other one? Um,
Oh, the other one's de facto.
okay. So, do you want to leave something out so that it is a factor, or would you like it? Do you want to make it as is and make it de jour?
Um, maybe we can just make it de jour.
Okay, okay, that'll be easier.
Yeah.
To create his company, Expert Kitchen, Joseph first, or Joseph the promoter. Is the promoter like that? Is that how you thought? Joseph the promoter.
Yeah.
Must be.
Promo.
Um, brought what should I say? People on
Uh,
board, should I say, or acquired experts and investors and shareholders.
yeah, you could do that. Investors, shareholders, creditors.
Joseph first. I won't say the promoter. To create his company, executed Joseph first acquired investors, shareholders, and brought many people on board to, what was the word you used? Not initiate, started with an I. To,
On
I guess,
board to. Um,
um,
oh, incorporating? You talking about incorporators? No.
maybe, I don't remember. But we can just say to initiate the start of the company. Should we put that? Or what do you want to put there?
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I'm trying to think of. I'm just trying to make sure it's right, but I think it's right. I don't know.
Joseph first acquired investors, shareholders, and brought many other people on board. Or to initiate expert kitchen. Is this making sense so far? Is it accurate?
Yeah. Maybe change the word company to corporation, just so.
Oh, oh, to create his corporation. Yeah, there you go. Not bad.
Um, I think it looks good. Joseph first acquired investor shareholders and brought many other people on board to initiate expert kitchen. I think it makes sense.
Okay. And then those in corp. I have to spell this out. Incorporators. Those incorporators then applied to, what is it, the State Corporation Commission?
Yeah.
And were then certified, or then they were granted.
They something in here says that so they apply to the State Corporation Commission with a form of the charter that they want to have granted. And then it says that although the charter is usually prepared by an attorney, this is not necessary. It doesn't go into any detail about what the charter is, other than it's something that they have to have.
Okay.
Have to have correct.
And then we say like it was approved, or the certificate was approved from them.
Yeah. So the Corporation Commission approved and granted a certificate of incorporation. Maybe.
I should probably capitalize this. Corporation Commission. Say that one more time. Certified approval, or what did you say?
Yeah, the Corporation Commission approved and granted a certificate of incorporation. Certificate of incorporation.
I feel like this is better than the like listing it idea that we had. I think that would have been a little too easy. Their last step was to adopt bylaws, right?
Yeah.
Establish a board of directors.
Yeah, so it says, so after receiving the certificate of incorporation, they call a meeting of the interim board of directors that were named in the charter to be held, at which time bylaws are adopted, officers are elected, and other necessary business is transacted.
Okay, so if I say like the last step was to adopt bylaws, establish a board of directors, and decide who the officers will be with those in the charter. What was it that you said? Like the beginning of the sentence?
Yeah, well, so it actually says that they call a meeting of the interim board of directors named in the charter to be held,
I just
at
put
which
that.
time.
So a meeting is then called. I'll say this. Finally, a meeting is then called.
With the interim board of directors.
Interim?
Yeah.
Interim board of directors, who will adopt bylaws and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Who then adopt bylaws, elect officers, and conduct other necessary business.
Okay. Decide who the officers will be and conduct other. Okay. How does this look? Joseph started a corporation where he sold quality kitchenware. To create his corporation, Expert Kitchen, Joseph first acquired investors, shareholders, and brought many other people on board to initiate Expert Kitchen. Those incorporators then applied to their state corporation commission with a form of the charter they wanted to have granted. The corporation commission approved the granted a certificate of incorporation. Finally, a meeting, was then called with the interim board of directors, who then adopted bylaws, established board of directors, and decided who the officers will be and conduct it. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. It's just kind of silly, but the word bylaws is they have it spelled in the book with BYLAWS.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, it looks good.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah.
So explanation of our example, does that go on there as well? This should explain the principle your example is teaching, how the example demonstrates its principle.
And so in the question that we're gonna ask, is this a de jure or de facto? Is that something that we're gonna ask? I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah, so we're gonna ask what we can just say, like, what kind of what's the word I'm thinking of?
Corporation, kind of.
Or how was this? What kind of corporation was established? Or what was the process? How would we word that so that we can just say, like, wrong answer 1 is de facto and 2 is de jure, and then other 2, you know?
Mm-hmm. What we could do, because I was just looking at it, de facto. So the de facto one is one that's not been properly formed. And they give an example of how it could mess up. There's some omission, for example, in the charter, but the certificate of incorporation is granted nonetheless. So it's some kind of a technical error, I guess, made by somebody on, like, in writing.
Yeah. So if we were to say, like, if the board of directors, whoever, if Joseph were to, oh man, like if they were to miss a step or not receive approval or like something minor like that, like you just mentioned, like what kind of, like, would it be de jure or de facto, you know?
Yeah, um, that makes sense. Okay.
How would we word that? What do you think?
So even just looking at the example, um, it's almost hard to tell because we don't, because like the example they give in the book is like there's an error in the charter,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know. Even in the example, we can't even tell if there was an error in the
What
charter.
if we say in like the quiz question, like if an error was found in the charter, what type of corporation would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, that could work.
What kind of corporation would Expert Kitchen be? Correct answer. So if an error was found, it would be de facto, right?
Exactly.
So is
So we
that
could. Oh, I'm sorry.
DE space capital F like that, or?
Yeah, actually, yep.
Okay. De facto. So we can do this one, and then Michael can do the other one. So we can put like de facto for correct answer, de facto for wrong answer, and then 2 de jures, you know? I'm sorry, I meant to say Jason, not Michael.
It's okay. Um, yeah, I think that's a good idea. We could do de facto and then de jure and then maybe even just public and private.
Okay. So wrong answer number 1 would be de jure, right? Oops. Like that.
Yes.
Wrong answer number 2. What are you saying?
Well, I was just gonna say we could do we could do public or private.
Oh, public corporation.
Yeah, would that work? Like, because you can't tell exactly if it's public or private from the example.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one because it make them think like, okay, like, because there's two aspects of it, like, is it public or private, and was it done correctly de jure, or was it done incorrectly de facto, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's de facto correct answer feedback. You wanna, what does it say in the book there? If,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, the defect in the formation
hold on. Correct in the formation,
of the de facto corporation is technical.
of the what corporation?
The de facto.
Oh,
Sorry, just the same one that we're talking about
corporation,
is technical.
technical.
Yeah, and then it has a hyphen,
Okay.
or I guess you can use a comma. There is some omission, for example, in the charter.
Is that what it says, for example, in the charter?
Yeah, it says there is some omission, comma, for example, comma, in the charter. And then
Perfect.
it says a little bit more. It says hyphen, but the certificate of incorporation is nonetheless granted.
Of corporation is. Wow, I feel good about this one.
Yeah, me too.
It's turned out to be pretty good actually. So should we do an explanation of our example?
Sure.
So this example will or tests the what should I say? Covers the differences in accurate and inaccurate procedures while forming a corporation, or
Um, yeah, this example. This explanation is going to be on the quiz as well, or is it just going to be the quiz?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't ever remember seeing like an explanation of it. You know.
Yeah, I forget. I can't remember. I don't remember seeing one either.
Um, I don't know if there's much to explain rather than what we've already said. You know, because I don't feel like we need to explain what our purpose was here. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe it's just like explain our question a little bit more in depth, which I feel like we don't even need to do in this case. You know.
Yeah, maybe we can just put. You're right. It kind of explains it in the example. I'm trying to think what we could say. Um,
Do you know? Do you know
Go
when
ahead.
this is due?
Um, it, I mean, I always thought that they were due.
Thursday night, right?
That's what I thought, and then like Jason says otherwise sometimes, and I see otherwise sometimes. And
Yeah.
like even just looking right now on the on here, it says that it's the group meeting is not due until Monday, as far as I
Okay.
know. I'm gonna
Sounds
put
good. Well, maybe we can just leave it blank, and if Michael sees or if Jason sees I need to put anything in there, he can. But I really can't think of anything that needs to be explained rather than what's already in here. You know.
yeah. Did you? Let me see. Hmm.
Yeah.
I think maybe it is due tonight because I don't know. I still have 2 or 3 Fs from the concept quiz question on mine. And then when I emailed her, she told me that I could submit the concept quiz question for partial credit for those weeks. But I don't know why.
I'm texting my friend right now who's in the class, Kyle. Maybe we can just say, like, we can email her and be like, hey, Michael and I did our part. It's in the video. We send it over to Jason, but it wasn't due before then. Like, he didn't get off work until past the due date.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right. I guess that's okay. Yeah.
All right. Kind of stinks. Unless we want to just, like, do it real quick. Play it safe. What do you feel?
I'm trying to see on here if I just want to confirm that it's not due until Monday because it says weekly study group assignment week 9, June 20th at 8 a.m. I guess it's not.
Yeah. End date June 20th, 8 a.m. Week 9 weekly study group assignment. That's this. Concept groups. Group 8. That's us. End date June 20th. Yeah. Looks right to me.
Yeah, that's what I see too. So I guess it's okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see what my friend says real quick. But
That's fine.
well, sounds good. I like this our example that we did here. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for always being on top of it.
Yeah. How do I not share anymore? Oh wait, stop sharing. Okay, cool. Well, sounds good. I can send this over to Michael. Pretty sure it is due Monday. If not, then I'll let you know and we can figure it out. And my friend just hasn't texted me back yet. So, sounds good. Good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thanks, man. Well, have a good night. I'll see you next week.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Brian.
All
Appreciate it,
right.
man.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Okay. See ya.
Okay, bye.